Hi, Marco, and welcome to the Truth About Weight Loss Summit. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Well, it is my pleasure. There's so many things I want to talk to you about, but I know how interested you are in fitness. And one of the things I've been wondering is when I was in junior high, they stopped physical fitness, and that was many, many years ago. And they're saying that part of the reason for the obesity epidemic, at least where children are concerned, is because they're not exercising enough. Do you think that's really the whole piece of the puzzle?
I think that's a very important piece. But I think that when you look at wellness, there's a lot of different pillars involved, right? There's a lot of pillars that add to whether it's optimum wellness or disease or lack of health. And for sure, exercise plays a really important role. But I think that a lot of times people believe that there's a way to exercise their ways out of a poor habit or poor lifestyle choices. But the reality is that no amount of exercise in the world will undo the effects of a poor diet. But definitely, exercise plays a very important role. And like I said, there's I call them the five pillars. It's exercise, it's sleep, it's nutrition, what we put into our body, and we could talk about that a little bit. It's stress management, and it's love and family, right? Community. And I think that if you look at those five pillars, you cannot have optimum wellness without really focusing on those five areas. And what's most important is that a lot of times we'll have people say, well, exercise in school is one thing, but when people get older, they could always exercise. Well, what they're not realizing is that a lot of the things that are taking place in school are basically learned, ingrained behaviors. And if you're not teaching the habit of exercise at a very young age, it's very difficult to pick it up as you get older. So the importance of exercise during school years is to be able to create that habit, to create that loop, right, in your system, that this is something that you must do on a daily basis. Like, we don't think about breathing, it just happens. Exercise is exactly the same thing. We shouldn't have to think about exercising. We shouldn't have to say, oh gosh, I have to go exercise now. You don't say, oh God, I have to inhale deeply now. It's just something that we do because we know it's part of life, it's part of longevity, it's part of health, and it's part of optimum wellness.
Yeah, I agree with you that if you don't get those habits early with exercise, it's harder to do as an adult because that was definitely my story. I really didn't start exercising until my 50s, and it would have been a lot easier had I started earlier. How effective do you think exercise is for weight loss as opposed to nutrition, or must they go together?
Oh, they have to. They have to go together. I mean, it's like peanut butter and jelly. They're both great, but it's dynamic when they're together. Exercise is fantastic, but like I said, a lot of times people think that they can undo the effects of a poor diet through exercise alone. And when you really think about it, if you had an hour of really really strenuous exercise, I mean, like you are crushing the gym, right? You'll burn maybe 800 calories. Let's give you a couple hundred more. Let's call it 1,000 calories, right? You're burning 1,000 calories in an hour of exercise. That is like really, really strenuous work. When you come to think of it, how long would it take you to consume 1,000 calories? 30 seconds, 40 seconds. I mean, it's like it happens in the blink of an eye, right? And we are not acutely aware of that in the moment because we just think of exercise as a cure-all. And many I spent a very large part of my career in wellness on the management ownership of fitness centers, right? So I've been an owner and operator. I started at a really young age. I opened my first gym at the age of 22, and I can't tell you how many times I would see people come to the gym on a daily basis for an hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours, and their bodies would not change. These are people that were obese or morbidly obese, and they just would not change. And it was because while they had added exercise to their lives, they had added movement to their lives, they had not touched their diet. And in many cases, the exercise gave them a feeling of free agency over what they were doing because they were like, oh, I'm taking an hour spinning class. I did 2 spinning classes today. I can eat whatever I want. And it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So while exercise is incredibly important, on its own, it really does not do much in the arena of weight loss because, like I said, a lot of times people are thinking that they can overcompensate because they're doing exercise or vigorous exercise, and that just it's just not the case.
What's interesting is that there are people at the gym that are very fit, but their diet isn't necessarily one that we would consider health promoting.
This is very true. And I've always told all of my friends, not just in wellness, but in life in general, it's really important to focus on yourself because a lot of times we get caught up looking externally for solutions, but the solutions really lie on the inside of us, whether it's about the way you feel or about the way you look or how you achieve optimal wellness. More often than not, you find that people are looking at magazine covers or their aspiration is what that bodybuilder looks like or what this other person looks like without really knowing the state of health, or the state of mental health of that person, right? So I've always said, focus on you, focus on being the best version of you, and that will bring you optimum wellness and it will give you happiness. Because if you're happy, you're healthy, and if you're healthy, you're happy. But at the end of the day, we really have to find solutions and we have to find sustainable ways to maintain our best self through things that we do, on our own, internally and externally. But it's really focusing on who you are. Because think about it, right? If I picked up a bodybuilding magazine and there was a guy that was 6'5" on the cover of the magazine and was 280 pounds and he's ripped, I mean, that guy may be on steroids, he may be doing who knows what. And that's not the frame that I have. I'm not 6'5", I'm 5'9", right? I will never be 6'5". So if that's what I aspire to be, I'm always going to be let down. So it's about looking in the mirror and saying, I love you, Marco, I love you and I accept you, and I want you to be the best you. How can we be the best, us? How could you be the best you? And it takes a strong person to be able to do that, because more often than not, we're looking for that validation from an external source. We're looking for that perfection externally, right? Somewhere else, what we think perfection looks like. And I think that that's it, in a certain way, it's setting yourself up for failure, because you're unique and you're an individual and you're incredibly special, because there's only one of you on the planet. So why not just live the best life that you can live versus trying to be someone else or trying to live someone else's life?
Yeah, agree. So many people look at exercise as a punishment. How can we shift that perception, especially if they didn't start out exercising?
Yeah, yeah, I think that starts, um, very close to what I was just mentioning, right? Like if you're exercising to try to undo the effects of a poor diet or poor lifestyle choices, then yes, it definitely can feel like punishment. I've never looked at exercise as punishment because I love to move. I love to be active. I know how it makes me feel. If I go a day without exercising, I feel like I'm being punished. So for me, it's the exact opposite. But again, it's because I developed these really healthy habits at a super young age. And it's not to say that you can't develop these habits, later in life at older ages, but it's about starting with the right intention, starting with the right desire, starting with the right goals, right? If your goal is to exercise so you can eat more, yeah, exercise feels like probably like punishment. If your goal is to exercise because you want to feel better, because you know that it gives you increased energy, because you sleep better at night, because it increases your sex drive, because it makes your skin feel better, because it helps you detoxify, because it helps you cope with stress, manage life a whole lot better, then it no longer feels like it's about perspective. It no longer feels like punishment, because you realize it's actually a solution. It's a really great coping mechanism for a lot of things that life throws at you. So it's about how you're looking at exercise. And then it's also important to do things that you enjoy doing. I can't tell you how many times over the last 30 plus years that I've been in this industry, people have asked me, well, um, what is the best form of exercise for me? And my answer is always the same. What do you enjoy doing? Because if I say to you, Chef AJ, the best thing for you is running, and you say, oh, I hate to run, I can't follow up by saying, well, biking is also great, because then immediately you're going to say, well, you're the expert. If you said running, yeah, I guess I can try running. You're going to try running, and guess what's going to happen? You're going to hate it, right? So it's about finding things that you love. And I'm sure there's people out there that are watching us now that are saying, but I hate everything. Well, find something that you enjoy the most or hate the least, right? It's like work. Okay, some people rather be sitting by a beach for the rest of their lives doing nothing. I like to work, to be honest with you, because I really love what I do. But some people really are not built for it. They just want to sit by a beach with like a drink in their hands doing nothing, and they hate all kinds of work. Well, at the end of the day, most people have to work. So find the thing that you hate the least, and hopefully you'll fall in love with it, right? So that's the way I look at exercise, and that's how I recommend exercise to everyone.
I love that. The best exercise is the one that you'll actually do, and find the one you hate the least. I say the same thing to people when they tell me they hate vegetables. I go, well, just eat the one you hate the least.
That's right. And look, there's no sustainability in hate, right? Like you cannot commit to something if you really are hating every second of it. So I'm like, find something that you enjoy. And I have never, I mean, when I say never, in my entire career, I've been in the wellness industry now for um, 31 years, 32 years. And I have yet to find someone that told me they hated exercise and eventually didn't find something they loved, right? Maybe all you've ever done is walk. Maybe all you've ever done is run. Maybe all you've ever done is ride a bicycle. Try group exercise classes. It brings community together. It brings you around other people. Try a Zoom workout. Try online training. There's so many different workouts online right now. There's so many different connected fitness companies right now. There's just so much happening today in the space of wellness that we should be taking advantage of, right? There's a really incredible movement right now that I'm sure you're very well aware of in the connected fitness space, where the workouts are coming to your home. You could literally be working out in your pajamas before you even brush your teeth. Like you can get this done like quickly. You could fall in love with your workouts every single day of the week. You could find something you love because there's that much variety. And I'm a part of a company called Climber. It's CLMBR. And Climber is a connected fitness company that brings vertical climbing to your home. And I mean, there's just so many amazing ways for you to work out that's non-impact, that has neutral spine alignment, that's self-regulated, that I mean that you really will enjoy and will yield incredible results. You just have to be willing to give it a try. So it's like your point with the vegetables. Okay, so maybe you didn't like broccoli, try cauliflower. You didn't like cauliflower, try asparagus. You don't like asparagus, try. There's always something else that you could try. And if at the end of the day you really truly hate everything, find something you hate the least,
I
because
love
you
it.
know it's going to be great for you.
I love it. There's probably some people watching this that it's not so much that they hate exercise, but they're in a position where they're probably carrying a lot of excess weight, and it's difficult for them. And it, might joint pain. They might be embarrassed getting into workout clothes. How do we inspire those people just to start somewhere, especially if they've been sedentary for a while?
Well, good news. Walking is the easiest exercise on the planet. And if you can walk, all you have to do is take that first step, right? It's easy. You don't need special equipment for it, right? Anyone can do it. It's quite safe. And it is the most popular form of exercise on planet Earth. So if someone says, well, walking is really not, it is the most popular form of exercise on planet Earth. And when you really think about it, all you have to do is move. Our bodies are meant to be in motion. They say sitting is the new smoking, right? Because we spend so many hours of the day seated. And when you think about it, our bodies are not meant to be seated for 8 or 9 hours a day, right? So when we get up and we start to walk around, magical things happen, right? Imagine this, right? What is going on inside your body all day long? You've got blood vessels, right? You've got blood cells that are moving around, blood vessels that are opening and closing. You've got muscles that are twitching. You've got cells that are carrying food to and from. You've got oxygen. The inside of the body is in a continuous motion, right? Imagine now the external version of that is sedentary, is sitting for 8 or 9 hours a day. It doesn't match the inside. So it's time for us to match the inside of our body with the outside, or the outside of the body with what's going on the inside. Get up, move around, pick your arms up. Even if you're seated at your desk, do some exercises. It's quite easy to get motion. Exercise your neck, get some flexion going, and you just doing this makes you already feel great about yourself, because you realize that you move because you can. It's such a beautiful thing. Move because you can.
That's interesting. I have a dog, and I'm thinking no animal in nature is sedentary. I mean, unless they're sick.
This is very true. This is very true. No, I don't think there's many animals out there that would sit around for 8 or 9 hours at a time in a chair or in a position that is foreign to their bodies, because the reality is we were not meant to be seated in chairs. Yes, our bodies are designed to be in a squatted position, but not to be in a seated position. And when we squat, we know how we feel. And just think about it. When you're sitting down, and yes, you're right, you're texting or you have your neck hyperextended forward, your cervical spine isn't, there are now diseases or conditions that are brought about because of the devices that we're, addicted to. So when you really think about it, it's about getting up, getting out, moving around, and helping your body do what it wants to do, which is to function at its best.
Right. I think if people would just start and they felt better, they would continue doing it, whether they liked it or not. What the effect, if they could feel it, it seems that just getting people to start seems to be the hard part.
I agree. So let's do that. Let's start today. Let's start right now. If you're sitting down watching this, stand up and just shake your legs out. And then maybe perhaps after this is over, you can go for a small walk. And it doesn't have to be hours upon hours. Maybe you start with just a 5-minute walk. Maybe you take a walk inside your home. Maybe it's walking around the house on the outside. Maybe it's going down the block. And then you could just build up little by little. The key is consistency. The key to health and longevity is consistency. It's not doing it all in one day, it's doing a little bit every single day, right? That is the key to everything. Consistency. You don't learn a language by reading one word. You learn a language over time. You don't become wise because you studied one thing, right? You become wise because you lived the life, right? You had all these experiences. You don't become optimally well because you did one thing or you had one piece of broccoli. You don't lose weight because you had one perfect day, right? It's about consistency, consistency, consistency. It's about doing something every single day. There's a word that I love. And if you've ever heard me speak, you know that I live by this word, and it's a Japanese word. It is kaizen. Kaizen is continuous self improvement. What can I do today to be a better version of me? What can I do today to be a better version of who I was yesterday? Being kinder, being more patient, being more loving, being more active, maybe walking a bit further, taking a few extra steps, sitting down a little bit less, standing for a call instead of sitting, stepping away from my phone or my devices for a little bit longer, putting the phones down, having a cutoff time. How can I move in the direction of continuous self improvement? And what happens more often than not, and I'm sure that you know this very well, is that people believe they have to be perfect in order for them to progress. And more often than not, perfection is the enemy of progress, because they had a great breakfast, they had a great lunch, they had a phenomenal workout, and then something happened after dinner and the wheels came off. And they had one cookie too many, and they couldn't think straight, and they had a bag of chips, and they had that one thing they said they promised themselves they would never eat again. And then they spiral out of control, and the next morning they wake up and they just continue that destructive, disruptive behavior. And it's about forgiving yourself, being kind to yourself, and understanding that you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect every single day. It's about consistency, and it's about progression. It's more important to progress than it is to perfect.
That is beautiful. It's more important to progress than I love that than it is to perfect. I'm going to write that down. Is that you're saying
Thank
that should
you.
be a t-shirt?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
It's so funny. When I lived in Los Angeles, I belonged to a gym, and I always remember that people would be circling, looking for a very close parking space, even though there were lots of parking spaces. And I'm thinking, but isn't this why you came to the gym in the first place?
It's so true. I think we've all been guilty of that. It's just about being aware of the opportunities when they are presented to you, and a short walk is, probably 5 or 10 times, shows up in your daily life 5 or 10 times. And more often than not, you'll find that people will take the elevator or park in the closest spot or sit in their car till something becomes available 5 feet away from the store. And then they'll tell you they don't have time to work out or they can't find the time during the day because they're too busy, right? The time is just never going to miraculously land on your lap. So you find those windows, those pockets of opportunity to be able to do things that you normally would not do, but you still have the time to do because the time is there. It's about us managing it and setting the expectations for ourselves that we can do this if we so desire, right? So it's about really making the time, understanding that the power lies in us and that we have to take control over the clock versus letting the clock take control of us, right?
Yeah. Well, the effects of exercise are cumulative, though, aren't they? It's not like you go to a class for 1 hour to undo the other 23 hours where you were sedentary. So I like to just do little chunks of things like look for the farthest parking space, take the steps instead of the elevator, and just kind of do little things all day.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. There's real beauty in exercise in that, yes, the effects are cumulative, but another really wonderful thing happens is that when you start to exercise immediately, there's these chemical reactions start to happen in your body, and these hormones start to be released, and these endorphins start to flow, and you just start to feel great about yourself. What you really have to do is just stand up right now and sit down and stand up and sit down. Do that 10 times. Just squat wherever you are watching this. Stand up and sit down 10 times, and you'll feel exactly what I'm talking about. Immediately you get this sense of empowerment, like you feel, wow, this is amazing. If you want to go one step further, drop down to the ground right now, do 10 push-ups, and you'll feel exactly what I'm talking about because your blood gets going, your body gets going, your endorphins start to rush, your mind starts to become more clear, you become razor sharp in these moments. So you do get these really quick, short lasting effects, but then over time you start to feel these effects a lot more consistently. So there's short-term gains and long-term gains. It just makes it so beautiful because we know it's like an instant confidence booster, right? Like you could sit and stand right now 10 times and do 5 push-ups and you automatically will stand straighter because you just feel great about what you did. You just feel like you accomplished something. So yeah, I listen, I've loved exercise my entire life. I grew up as an athlete and I've been exercising since I can remember. So it's a part of my daily life. It's part of our daily lives in my family, and I encourage everyone to try it and to find something they love and to stick to it, and to remember that it's not about perfection; it's about progression, and to be consistent because that's where the results will lie in the consistency.
Right. You mentioned in the 5 pillars, other than exercise, there was nutrition, there was sleep, stress management, love. How does having an exercise routine affect the other pillars?
Oh, wow. They all work hand in hand, right? Like if you go, for example, right, if you exercise for an hour every single day, or if you exercise for 45 minutes every single day, you sleep so much better, right? Because it just helps you get to bed. It helps you rest. It helps you manage stress so much better because you realize that whatever you were stressed out about, you start to think through your workouts and your body is just able to manage that stress because exercise is stress. So you learn how to cope with stress in a much more productive way. You are more patient with the people around you. So your love life, your family life will improve because of it. And who's ever, you know, gone for an hour workout and then after that been presented with like a cupcake? You don't want to eat a cupcake after you just ran for an hour. You just did something fantastic for yourself. On the opposite, you actually feel so great about yourself that you want to make better decisions. So it's one good action perpetuates another good action. One good decision perpetuates another good decision. And the converse is also true, right? Like if you eat a brownie, you're more than likely not going to want to work out because you think that you just ruined it. And then you get on this perpetual motion of bad habits or bad actions that perpetuate themselves. So I always say, look, stop. If you ever find yourself doing something that is sabotaging the goals that you have set for yourself, your health goals, your lifestyle goals, your wellness goals, stop, take a deep breath and say, it's okay. I forgive you. And then do one really good thing, right? Go for a walk, meditate for 10 minutes, sit still and just breathe and think about the things that you're going to do to move in the direction that you want versus the direction that you're in. And that does wonders. So they all work hand in hand with one another.
I agree. You mentioned you've been in the fitness industry a long time. Why do you think that particular industry is so obsessed with protein. And so many, you go to a gym and somebody gets a trainer and they're telling the client, oh, you want to lose weight, you got to go keto, low carb. That seems to be perpetuated a lot in the industry.
It is, and it's unfortunate. I think people are obsessed with it because it's what they've heard, it's what they've been sold for many, many years, and people don't realize that uh, more often than not, Americans are consuming twice the amount of protein that they should be consuming on a daily basis because they're eating a lot of animal foods, a lot of animal-rich protein. And in fact, they're actually not protein deficient, but they're actually fiber deficient because they're eating so many animal foods, they're not getting enough fiber in their diets. Most Americans are probably taking in half the amount of fiber they should be taking in on a daily basis. And we already know that one of the leading causes of death is cancer, colorectal cancer, right? So we know today there's so much evidence out that proves the fact that we are eating more protein than we should be eating and less fiber than we should be eating. And the solution is really simple, because a lot of times people look at me really puzzled, super perplexed, and they're like, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. I don't know what to do. It's so complicated. It really isn't complicated. Eat how nature intended you to eat, because if you eat plants, you're going to get the right amount of protein. You don't have to have a Hewlett Packard calculator. You don't have to have a degree in mathematics or biology or have some sort of a PhD in nutrition. If you eat a whole food plant-based diet, if you follow a whole food plant-based diet, you will get the right amount of protein and the right amount of fiber for optimum health and wellness. I'll say it again. If you eat a whole food plant-based diet, if you are following a whole food plant-based diet, you will be taking in the right amount of protein and the right amount of fiber for your daily requirements. It's quite simple.
Why is fiber so important to health in general and for those trying to lose weight in particular?
Well, fiber is great for a lot of different reasons, but the two most obvious, right, are that fiber helps you feel satiated. So it's that feeling of fullness, okay? And it helps move things out, right? So I like to make the analogy of, imagine having a party in your home, right? And then you have all these friends over, and then you have all these paper plates and all these plastic cups and all this garbage just laying all over the place. And your friends leave, and then you have another party tomorrow, and you get more garbage, and then another party the next, and you have more garbage. You never do anything to take out that garbage. Well, imagine what the house would look like in just a few days, right? The same thing is with the body. The fiber helps move all of this out. And if you're not consuming the right amount of fiber, it's very difficult for you to have regular bowel movements. And if you're not having regular bowel movements, well, you already know what happens, right? You can't get the toxins out. You can't get the things out of your body. You can't get the movement that your body naturally wants you to get. So it's really important to ensure that you're getting the right amount of fiber every single day. And there's no better way to get that right amount of fiber than through a plant-based diet. By the way, most people don't realize this, but fiber is not found in any animal foods. So you won't find fiber in chicken, you won't find fiber in beef, you won't find fiber in fish, you won't find fiber in any of those foods that you're obsessed with because you're focusing on protein, which you're getting way more than you should be getting, and you're not getting enough fiber, which is the plants, the vegetables, the starchy veggies, the grains, the legumes, the beans that you should be eating, the fruits, right? So it's really about focusing your attention towards eating more plant-based foods. And again, you don't have to be perfect, but eating more plant-based foods and eliminating some of the foods that actually are derailing your plans or your goals for optimum wellness.
I think so many people are afraid of carbs.
Again, it's the story they've been sold, right? It's really unfortunate that we know much more about fashion. We know much more about celebrity. We know much more about the tabloid fodder that we're sold than we know about how to function this beautiful machine of ours, this incredibly powerful machine that is 1 billion times more powerful than any iPhone. It can correct itself. It can fix itself. And it's really sad, but most people don't really know what they should be putting into their bodies, and they're just reading headlines. And because they're reading headlines, a lie has been sold to them that many people have bought, that carbs are bad and protein is good. And the reality is that we need those carbs. Those carbs are life giving, those carbs are life saving, those carbs are what we need to move in the direction of optimum wellness. And those carbs are what help us achieve optimum weight, optimum cholesterol levels, optimum insulin levels. It's what helps clear out clogged arteries. It's what helps makes our brains function better. It's what gives us the energy throughout the day that we have to be able to think and see and move and react. So it's unfortunate that we've been sold this bill of goods that is not true. But the reality is that we now know today we have an overwhelming body of evidence that proves without a shadow of a doubt the only diet on planet Earth that can prevent, arrest, and reverse heart disease is a plant based diet. It's a whole food plant based diet. So I recommend that you really look at the data, really look at the science, and stop believing this bag of baloney that we've been sold for so many years. Start eating your carbs, embrace them, love them. They're life giving, they're nurturing, and they will move you in the direction of the health that you aspire to be.
Beautifully said. You've worked with so many people, including a lot of high profile celebrities. How were you able to move them towards plants? Do you have a secret? Because so many of us have loved ones that we're trying to get to eat plants and they're not budging.
I think it's really simple. Whether it's a celebrity, whether it's someone that's overweight, someone that's underweight, it's an athlete. We all wake up every day wanting to feel like our best selves, right? No one wakes up and says, "I think I'm going to have an okay day today. I think I'm going to have a crappy day." No, no one does that. We all wake up and say, "Yes, this is amazing. We get to do it all over again," or at least I do, right? And in wanting to live my best life, people have realized that I'm really authentic and I'm true to my path. I'm true to what I've chosen in my life. And it's not something that I am selling because I have this agenda. It's about really empowering people with information that is necessary for us to share, because for far too long we've been lied to. We've spent way too many years treating symptoms and never really treating the underlying causes. And I think it's about time as humans we wake up, we open our eyes, and literally open our eyes, figuratively open our eyes to what we have in front of us, because we are living probably the unhealthiest that we've ever been since we've been recording history. And it's only because of the decisions that we make on a daily basis. And if we stop trying to just treat symptoms and we really take a close look at the underlying causes, we'll realize that the solution lies in the problem, which is how we're living, right? We're trying to find an external solution to an internal problem. And that's not going to happen, right? Until we start to change the way we're living our lives, we start to change our actions, we start to practice Kaizen, continuous self improvement. We start to move more. We start to think a little bit more consciously about what we're putting into our bodies, like really think about what we're putting into our bodies. And we need to act with intention to go where we want to go, to take ourselves where we want to go and where we deserve to be. And we need to move in the direction of kindness. We need to move in the direction of compassion. And when we see, it's a beautiful thing, because the more kind and compassionate you are, the more health and wellness you bring to yourself. Do you think that's by accident? It's not by accident. It's by design. It's supposed to be that way. The more kind and compassionate we live, the more kind and compassionate we are towards what we're putting into our bodies, the better we feel about ourselves, the better we age, the better our bodies function, the more we reduce our risk of disease. Give it a try. Everyone that's watching, give it a try. You've tried everything else and it hasn't worked for one reason or another. Give this a try. It's simple. Whole food, plant-based food. Some movement and be kind to others. Magic happens.
And we haven't seen it not work.
I have not seen it not work. I can tell you that much. And like I said, I've been doing this for 30 plus years and I have not seen it not work once.
Wow, that's amazing. How important is mindset, and how do you work with people to, when they're wanting to embrace dietary and lifestyle change, to have the right mindset?
Yeah, I love the saying, if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you can't. Because you have to be optimistic. Life is all about optimism. right? I wake up every day and every thought that goes through my mind is a positive thought. It's a practice. You can choose to be happy or you can choose to be sad. We can all find something to complain about every single day. It doesn't matter if you live in a castle or if you live in a shanty town. We can all find something to complain about every single day. But is that the life that you truly want to live? Do you want to live a life complaining? Do you want to live a life looking at your glass half empty, or do you want to look at life with your glass half full? When you think positive things, wonderful things happen. When you think you can do something, you actually wind up accomplishing it. If you doubt yourself and you think it's too hard and you won't be able to do it, more often than not, you won't be able to do it because you don't have the right intention. And it all starts with the positive attitude that you have. I can tell you one thing. I wake up every single day of my life and I jump out of bed and I say, thank you, God, I get to do this one more time. And I'm going to try to do it even better today. And if you have that outlook on life, magic happens. I guarantee it. Give it a try.
That's funny because I once heard somebody say that there's two types of people: the ones like you that wake up and say, "Good morning, God," and the other ones that say, "Good God, morning."
Yeah, I love that. This is so true.
Yeah.
This is so true. It's all about mindset. It
Yeah.
really is.
How important is willpower, and is willpower required for those that want to lose weight?
I've never really liked the word willpower because willpower is quickly fading, right? If you need willpower to exercise and you need willpower to have a good meal, it's short-lived, right? Because you have to find something in you. However, if you are trying to live your best life because you have a significant other, you have children, you have friends, you want to be a part of this amazing world, you no longer need willpower. It's something you do because you can, because you want to, right? So it's really about putting your mind in the right place and getting to understand why you're doing what you're doing, right? Losing 10 pounds for a wedding, you need willpower for that, right? Losing 10 pounds because you want to show up like your best self, that's easy. Willpower is not necessary. It just happens, right? Losing 20 pounds because you want to impress someone else, you need a lot of willpower, right? You need a lot of willpower. Losing 20 pounds because you want to be able to bend over and grab your grandkids and kiss them, that's instant. You don't have to think about it. So it's really about setting the goals and really understanding why you're doing what you're doing, right? You're not really losing 10 pounds to show up at a wedding. You're losing 10 pounds because you want to show up as your best self. You're losing 20 pounds because you want to be a better husband or a better wife. You're losing 20 pounds or 50 pounds or 100 pounds because you know what? Life is too short to live it half baked. You want to show up like the best version of you because guess what? You're already a one of one. You're already one of a kind. So you might as well be the best you that you can be because there's no one else like you on planet Earth.
Where did you become so inspiring?
Oh, I don't know. I guess I'm lucky. I was just born this way. I love life. I love life so much. I love to look outside and just if it's raining, I say, wow, it's amazing. It's raining. If it's sunny, I say, wow. And I'm not faking it. I really truly I see magic in everything. I see magic in every single thing because I realize how short life is. There's a saying that, life is short, but if you live it right, once is enough. And that's me. I don't know if we get to do this again. So I'm going to make sure that this one time I do it right and I make it as fun and as exciting as humanly possible.
That's beautiful. So many people believe that if you eat more frequently, many small meals a day, that it'll boost your metabolism and it'll facilitate weight loss. But many of the experts on this summit actually think the opposite, that we should be maybe narrowing our feeding window. I wonder where you stand on that.
I'm all about logic. I am about common sense. I think that our bodies are designed in a very commonsensical way. So think about it, right? If you're eating all day long, your body is working all day long to just digest the food, right? So when does the cleanup happen? When does the repair happen? When does the building happen? When does the detoxification happen? Again, I go back to that party. Think of your body as your home. And if you're having people over all day, every single day, all day, you're having every 5 minutes, someone is coming in the door. At what point do you get to take care of your house? At what point do you see, the paint peeling off, the floors dirty, the cabinet stained? At what point do you get to clean up and take care of that housekeeping? It's impossible. Now, if you have friends over for dinner one night and maybe for lunch another day, it's a lot easier to keep that house up. And when you think about it, eating is exactly the same thing. If we spend our entire day eating, I mean, I see these recommendations. I just think to myself, this is nonsense. It makes no sense whatsoever. You don't have to have a PhD in microbiology or a PhD in nutrition or physics to understand this. It's quite simple. When you're eating, your body has to do its work to be able to digest the food and extract the chemicals and the compounds from that food to be able to power your body, but also to discard whatever it's not going to use. And if you're doing that all day long, 6, 7 times throughout the day, at what point in time does your body get to rest? Your body's digesting food while you're trying to sleep. And that's not what your body's trying to do when you're sleeping. Your body's trying to recover. Your body's trying to release some more growth hormones so that you can recover and feel fantastic in the morning. Yet people are going to sleep with a full stomach, waking up with a full stomach, and just putting more food down their throat. No wonder they don't feel good. I don't blame them. I wouldn't feel good either.
Mm. I heard you say once in an interview that when people come to your home, you feed them the way you eat, that you don't make special food for them if they eat differently. And I was very impressed by that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, for me, we're fortunate enough to be living this way. Why wouldn't I want to share it with my friends and my family? It's just the way that I see it. If I love you, why would I feed you something that I didn't think was going to be good for you? Why would I feed you less than I'm feeding myself? That's like having guests over and giving them, leftovers instead of giving them good food or giving them something that I wouldn't want to eat. So I know that I'm fortunate enough to have this information, to be empowered by this information, to understand it. I want to be able to share with as many people as possible. And charity starts at home. Like, why wouldn't I want to take care of my family? So, fortunately for us, my wife and I are 100% plant based. Our 4 kids have been born and raised in a plant based diet. My mom's plant based. My brother's plant based. My sister's plant. I mean, we've really we've gotten a lot of our family members to move in the direction of a whole food plant based diet, and they all feel much better as a result of it. So as often as I can share it, I will share it. We just don't bring foods that we don't eat into our home. Period.
That to me is a great tip because I have a saying, if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. And so many people struggle with foods that they can't resist in their home.
That's right. Yeah, they wind up going shopping when they're hungry, and then they bring all these foods to their home. And they say, "Well, I'll just get rid of it this one time," and then they bring it back into their home again, and then it's that repetition, right? It's about breaking that cycle, breaking that vicious cycle, and just don't bring it into the house, and that's the easiest way to avoid it.
Yeah, that's my thinking, but apparently a lot of people see it differently, and I think that's why they struggle because they have such an unclean environment. But it sounds like your house is great.
We do our best.
Yeah. So that's amazing that you raised all your children plant-based.
Yeah, thank you. Early on, I think it was a bit of a challenge for people that were around us to see that we were doing this. But I realized that I had one shot at educating my kids and empowering them with the right tools. And I didn't want to make the same mistakes a lot of people are making. Um, so I realized that it was up to me to be able to put the best possible food in front of them. And like I said, I was already eating a whole food plant based diet, so it was really natural for us. It really wasn't anything. We weren't doing anything differently. We knew that this was the absolute healthiest way for us to live. We've seen the science, we've seen the data. We have a lot of really great friends in the medical industry, and we know a lot of the experts that are putting out this information. So once you can't ignore it. I mean, it would be, I think it'd be crazy for me to be doing anything differently. And again, my kids have been, my oldest is 12. I've got a 12-year-old boy, that I've got an 11-year-old boy, an 8-year-old boy, and a 5-year-old girl. And they're all plant-based since birth, and they are delighted to be plant-based. They almost brag about it. They're so happy that they're plant-based. So yeah, it's a really cool thing. It's a great feeling to be able to have done that for them.
Mm. And I'm guessing they're really healthy, and I bet they don't have any weight problems.
Yeah. Knock on wood, they're super healthy. They have no weight problems. They're all really competitive athletes, and living their best lives as they should.
That is amazing. You know, I want to go back to something you said because it's been sticking in my mind about not having to be perfect. And what I see happen with people, like when they have a slip, a misstep, a relapse, they kick over the table. And how do we get them back up again right away? You know what I mean? It seems like that's a pivotal moment often.
Yeah, I see life like a boxing match. You don't lose the fight if you fall, you lose if you stay down, right? If you get knocked down, you don't lose. You only lose if you don't get back up again. So life is like that. You fall down, it's okay. Dust yourself off, get back up again, and start all over again. Make note of it. Understand why you fell off, why you failed at this attempt, whether it's the first time or the 100th time or the 1,000th time. Why did you fail? Was it because you got emotional? Was it because I think that failure is not a problem. It's not learning from the failure that's a problem, right? So as long as you're learning every single time you fail, at a certain point, you're going to understand yourself better than anyone in the world, and you'll know what triggers you. And if you know that, for example, every time you get upset, you tend to eat more, well, then make sure that you find ways to cope with your anger so that you don't wind up overeating. And if you find that you're still coping with anger by meditating, but then later on that night you still feel hungry, well, get that food that is derailing you out of your home, and you start to set yourself up for success. And it's really about creating an environment around you that is conducive to the success that you're looking for, right? You can't expect yourself to be perfect, and to follow along the path of progression if you're trying to lose 100 pounds, yet your home is filled with all these temptations that got you in trouble to begin with, right? It's like an alcoholic walking into a bar. You probably shouldn't be there. And it's the same exact concept. It's about putting yourself in a situation, or putting yourself in situations where you are able to succeed, right? I have friends that had struggled with addiction and realized that they needed to do certain things to be able to get away from those addictions. And they have outlined all of those, and they keep them front and center so they understand what it is they need to do to be able to continue to progress on a daily basis. And it's the same exact thing. Food is the most widely abused addiction on the planet, yet most people don't see it that way. Right? Think about it. If you knew someone had a problem with a substance, whatever that substance may be, um, cigarette, drugs, alcohol, whatever it may be, you would never offer them that. Never in a million years, because you'd never want to be the person. Yet someone could be 100 pounds overweight and trying to lose weight, and you're like, oh, come on, just eat one more cookie. It's not a big deal. So there's not a lot of support there, right? It's quite hypocritical, if you ask me. So the reality is that we need to find ways to put ourselves in situations where we're able to succeed in spite of what societies may be pushing upon us.
Wow, I wrote that down. It was so great. Create an environment that is conducive to the success you're looking for. Wonderful. Can you share a success story with us? Somebody you work with maybe that either lost a lot of weight or regained their health or both?
Yeah. Well, you might have heard this one because this is one of the ones that's just closest to my heart, of a dear friend, Raymond, who found himself morbidly obese and super high cholesterol and hypertension to elevated blood sugar levels, and just was not in his best shape, but was conquering everything professionally that he could conquer. I mean, he was on top of the world professionally, but personally, he was suffering and suffering in silence. And I remember that one day he called me and was really startled because he had woken up for a couple of nights in a row with palpitations, heart palpitations. And he went to go see his doctor, and he found that he had hypertension too, that he had super elevated cholesterol levels. And the doctor basically just handed him a handful of prescriptions and said, take these and, you know, basically go on your way. And he was handing him six different prescriptions for medicines that he would probably need to take for the rest of his life, because unless you change the behavior, the outcome remains the same, right? And so he called me really nervous and said, I don't know what to do. I need your help. And I said, try this for 22 days. It's really simple. 22 days. That's all I want you to do. And it's based on the concept that if you adopted a healthy habit over the course of 21 days, on the 22nd day, you would have wired your brain with a new habit to be able to live a healthier life, right? Whatever that habit may be, whether it's exercising for 21 days in a row, it takes 21 days to make or break a habit. So if you practice something for 21 days, on the 22nd day, you'd have a new tool to be able to live the life that you truly want to live. So I said to him, Raymond, go 100% plant-based for 22 days and let's see what happens. He decided he wouldn't fill the prescriptions. He went 100% plant-based literally that same day. 22 days later, he had lost 22 pounds. 3 months later, 3.5 months later, he had lost 75, 76 pounds. He went back to his doctor, and the doctor's jaw dropped to the floor when he saw him. He says, oh my God, I've never seen these medications work so well. He says, well, I never actually took the medications. I just adopted a plant-based diet. His cholesterol had been normalized. His blood sugars were normal. His hypertension had disappeared. His palpitations were gone. And he had dropped 70 something, almost 80 pounds over the course of less than 4 months. Everything is possible as long as you put your mind into it, you remain optimistic, positive, and you practice consistency. We started there, we'll finish there. It's about consistency.
That's beautiful. What would you say to somebody that's given hope up that they could ever lose weight?
You're never hopeless. You're never hopeless. Every day is a new opportunity to live the life that you truly want to live. Every day, every single day, you start fresh. All you have is today. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow will bring you anxiety. What you have is right now. Don't think about the future too much because then you get anxious. Don't think about the past too much because then you get depressed. Think about the moment and just be happy.
You get a do-over every day.
That's it.
That's what I always tell people, just wipe the crumbs off.
You get to start fresh every single day.
Yeah. So Marco, what is the truth about weight loss?
The truth about weight loss is that it's a lot easier than people think. And I know that I'm going to sound repetitive now, but it's not about progression. It's not about perfection. It's about progression. It's not about perfection. It's about progression. Just be consistent and success will follow. If you are consistent, success will follow, guaranteed. The truth about weight loss is that it's a whole lot easier on a whole food plant-based diet.
Amen.
The truth about weight loss is that it's a whole lot easier on a whole food plant-based diet if you add a little bit of exercise to it. And the truth about weight loss is that anyone can do it, including you.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much.